Yeah, in fact, as Eric was talking about in Revelation 5 and 7, people of every tribe, nation, and language, I was thinking of Daniel chapter 7, where you have these things that are happening on earth. In verse 7, four great beasts, each different from the other, came out of the sea, and these four great nations rise up. And then skipping forward to verse 9, where it says, as I looked, thrones were set in place, and the Ancient of Days took his seat. That the Ancient of Days, the true ruler, and thousands upon thousands attended him. In verse 10 it says, and 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The court was seated. The books were open. This is the true Supreme Court. Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And the books are open. Now look at verse 13. In my vision at night I looked, and there before me was one like a son of man. And Son of Man was someone's favorite name for himself. Who was that? Jesus. He called himself Son of Man. I think that's because he'd always been the Son of God. Now he was the Son of Man. Wow. This is amazing. I'm the Son of Man, the fulfillment of all the Old Testament messianic prophecies. So I looked, and there before me was one like a son of man, coming with the clouds of heaven. He approached the Ancient of Days, the Father, and was led into his presence. And he, Jesus, he was given, and spoken past tense, but with that prophetic certainty, this will one day happen, and this will be in the new heavens and the new earth. He was given authority, glory, and sovereign power. All peoples, nations, and people of every language worship him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion that will not pass away, and his kingdom is one that will never be destroyed. So as magnificent as the concept is of a 1,000-year reign of Christ on the old earth, completing that, the eternal reign of Christ is what's being talked about on the new earth, a reign that will never end. And then verse 10 says, or verse 18 rather says, but the saints of the Most High will receive the kingdom and will possess it forever. Yes, forever and ever. Do you get the idea that God's trying to make a point here? Forever and ever. And that's where these people that were referred to earlier that we read, of people of every tribe and nation and language worshiping him. And then skip forward once again to verse 26. The court will sit, and his power, this is the Antichrist power, will be taken away and completely destroyed forever. Verse 27, and then, this is the climax. And this is a fitting way for us to end this session, because this is the ultimate, where those people of every tribe and nation and language will, yes, they worship God in heaven right now, people of every tribe and nation and language. But think of on the new earth, where there will be new cities, and God talks about his people ruling over cities. And I imagine that the dress will be culturally appropriate to when people are wearing robes in heaven, well, that's what they wore, robes. So don't think, oh, well, we'll all wear robes in heaven. That just corresponds to what people wore in their particular culture. So there it is. Wrap up with this in verse 26 and following. The court will sit, his power will be taken away, Antichrist destroyed. Then, verse 27, the sovereignty, power, and greatness of the kingdoms under the whole earth. He's talking about the redemption of earthly kingdoms. That's the whole context of Daniel 7. There's all these kingdoms that rise up in rebellion against God, but ultimately he rules over all the kingdoms. He's the King of kings. Under the whole heaven, well, where's under the whole heaven? Earth. On this new earth will be handed over to the saints. Folks, incredibly, that's us. That's God's redeemed people. And God is giving us opportunities in this life to serve him faithfully, saved purely by grace, but to serve him faithfully so that the good works that he treasures, that don't contribute to our salvation, But he has created us to do good works, which he has prepared in advance that we should walk in them. He will reward us for that. He will not overlook so much as a cup of cold water given to one of his little ones in his name will be handed over to the saints. They'll rule, will rule, the people of the Most High. His kingdom will be an everlasting kingdom, and all rulers will worship and obey him. Redeemed rulers of the earth will worship and obey him. All that are in the new heavens and the new earth, all redeemed by the blood of Christ, will forever be under his rule. They'll be kings with a lowercase k. He will always be the king with the uppercase K, the King of Kings. And his original plan was that we should rule the earth. Guess what? We will, as redeemed people, rule God's earth forever to his glory.